So thank you so much for both being here. I want to find out, what brought your organizations to TINYpulse? What was the need? I guess, Kara, I'll start with you.
So for us, we had a very large turnover a couple of years ago in 2014, which led to a very rough culture situation for us. So in the years leading up to TINYpulse, we were really trying to focus on our culture and building a better one with the turnover and the toxicity that we were dealing with. And our president actually heard about TINYpulse through another company, and we set up a demo with them, and we launched within a month.
Nice.
And signing up.
Yeah, and then you came to TINYpulse shortly, a few weeks after you guys got.
Yeah, we launched in August, and in September we came to TINYcon, which really helped us out. We didn't hit a lot of bumps in the road due to that. We, talked to people here, and that really helped us a lot.
Awesome. Great. Good to hear that. Mary, tell us your story. How did you get to TINYpulse?
Sure. Similar to Kara, we went through a major downsizing in 2014. Around that time, we laid off quite a large number of our employees. So we needed a tool to figure out we called it a reset, and how to reset the company and gain the knowledge and hear from them and how we were going to improve. We're a company that's been around 97 years. So we have a long history, but, with that, still our ebbs and flows, and we had to figure out how to improve and make it better.
Nice. Excellent. So what were you doing to showcase wins prior to TINYpulse, or was that even a thing prior to TINYpulse?
For us, it really wasn't a thing. We didn't have a platform or really an openness for people to, voice other than just in the day-to-day talking to somebody. Then maybe things would fall through the cracks. There was no tracking system. There was no accountability for anybody to be working on those initiatives or anything like that. So that was a huge thing for us.
Very same thing.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, we had strategic planning teams, but those were small groups that did get involved in improvements, but we wanted to hear from everyone. So we needed a tool to do that. And like Kara's president, our president heard about TINYpulse through Vistage, which is a company that was a CEO group, and somebody there was using it, so we decided to give it a shot.
Nice, excellent. So why are wins important to you? What are you seeing since you've started to implement them?
For us, obviously for everyone, I'm sure, it's the number one way to show and prove that you're listening to what people are saying. They're putting their thoughts and opinions and what they think might make things better, and this is a tracking way to show, you can mark it in progress. You can, put the collaborators on there and show who's working on it, and it may have been your suggestion and it's anonymous, but, hey, I saw it on the board and I'd like to help out with that, and then you can get other people on board to help move them faster. So that's just a really great tool for us to be able to put that on there.
Nice. And Mary, why are wins important to you?
Well, that's something that, we've been able to use to build the culture of engagement. We have an engaged team more so than we've had in many years. And, with that, we've been able to attract some really great folks. It's interesting. People are seeking us out, and that's never really happened before. Like, I want to come work at Mack Boring. So we've been able to do some awesome hiring recently. And it's improved our partners, our customers, and our factory partners want to work with us. They want to work with our employees. So we've taken on some new territories, and our business has grown because of it. So it's been very impactful.
Well, excellent. It's nice to be the shiny thing that people want to be a part of.
It is.
Isn't it?
It is.
Kara, last night we were chatting about a really big, impactful change that you guys were making. Tell us about that story and how your employees have benefited from it, and just how it was a smart move for you guys.
Yeah. So when we first started putting initiatives on the board, we've got some really tiny ones. We received some really major ones that came from a lot of our responses. Training was obviously a huge thing for us with the turnover. So that was obviously one of our biggest initiatives and a very important one for us. With the training came after hours trainings. We would have a few, 4 or 5 maybe trainings after hours, which we were having employees' voice on there that was, taking them away from time with their families and prior obligations for other things because they were mandatory meetings for everybody. So with that, our management team came up with our federal holidays with Columbus Day and Martin Luther King Day. We took those as training days to get some of those trainings out of the way, so then our employees weren't having to take time away from their families. So that was one of our biggest wins, and one of our first ones, actually. We launched that in October, so just a couple months after we launched TINYpulse. So that was a really big win for us, and I think the employees appreciated that a lot, not having to stay after for multiple trainings anymore.
Nice. That's a great idea. That's awesome. And like I said, it was like, what a great example, and something that impacts everyone. It's just a smart move.
It's very visual, so that was nice.
Absolutely. Mary, what about you? What is something that's been really impactful, and you're just like, yeah, I talk about this piece all the time?
Well, there's so many little wins, and there's big wins. I think what we as a leadership team talk about is how the combination of all the wins. I mean, we all have employees that are great performers, but they're not part of the culture. So how do you move them over? And you hear that term, if you want to make the biggest impact is you let go a high performer. But you want those folks to be part of the culture. And we talk about a few employees who, no matter what we did or what was going on, they were never happy and they always had complaints. But I think one of the biggest wins was seeing two of those employees totally flip, and they're a part of everything. They do everything with us. They offer to help. They get involved, and that's just been awesome to see that change.
That's awesome. Kind of going back to classroom teaching, those ones that are just like, the ones that won't sit down or won't stop talking in class. Here, I'm going to put you in charge of a task, and we're going to help step in and make you rise to the occasion.
Yes.
So,
and they have
very similar techniques. Excellent. Kara, dig in a little bit more and talk about the goal of 25 wins that David talked about earlier. How did you guys do that? Was it all on you to be like moving things around? How did you guys accomplish that as a team and be like, all right, we want to do this?
Yeah, so that came last year after TINYcon. He challenged us to get 25 wins on the board within our first year. So we did that, I don't know if it was maybe like 3 months ago. So we're probably about like 30 or so now. They kind of dropped off, and some of them were a little bigger. But so it was challenged to Kim, our executive vice president, and myself, and our management team and our board of directors. Everyone's very involved in the aspects of TINYpulse for us. So that's very helpful. We're very supported from them. So that helps out. They're reported in our manager meetings and to our board. So they're, and that helps everybody else, and to get them, wanting to help out with those things too. So that helps. And then the multiple collaborators helping move that along, that's very helpful to us, because it's not all on me then.
Yeah.
I just get to put it on there, and then I get to, have people help me with them. So that's really nice.
Cool. Excellent. Now, moving to Mary, when I was doing some research about Mack Boring, I go into their TINYpulse account. My jaw hit the table, and I was like, what is going on? I was like asking my coworker Tina, I'm like, why are you recommending Mary to come talk about wins? Their wins board is blank. She's like, no. She's got a really great story. So, Mary, talk about your technique and why you actually don't put anything up there digitally. Tell us about your secrets and what you do. That's really impactful.
We are a distribution center, so we distribute diesel engines. So we have a lot of folks in the warehouse. They don't sit in front of a computer. I mean, you can tell them to use their cell phones. So we needed a way to share all of this information with everyone. So we came up with this Wall of Fame idea. So we had an offsite meeting where we had a photo booth. So all employees had to go in and take a crazy photo. So I said, what a great idea to use those photos. So we created a Wall of Fame where everyone's picture is put up on the wall. There's our Wall of Fame there. We memorialize a lot of things on those pictures. So the person's name is on there, the team that they belong to, the year they started. We also have them pick the core value that resonates closest to them. But this is where we track all of their cheers. So if they've given a cheer, they get a gold star. If they've received a cheer, they get a red star. Of course, we celebrate the top giver, the top receiver, but more importantly, it's just so much fun. Folks love seeing this. We also put all of our suggestions. There was a slide prior to the suggestion board. Sort of like in school, we do these bulletin boards. So every suggestion that's ever put, there's actually 3 boards. There's the green that's a go, there's the yellow that's under review, and we have a graveyard. We didn't take a picture of that. So those are sort of like, some of them are a little, I think one was a trip to London to see a football team play, the silly ones. So what's important is we move them so people can see the movement visually, if it was a go, if it was under review when we moved it. And what we do is, you'll see those little sign there on the bottom that says brought to you by Team Mack Boring and TINYpulse. Anytime a suggestion or anything, a comment, and we've made a change, we visualize it by putting that sticker. Down to the air freshener in the men's room. That has a little sticker on there. Hey, it was a suggestion, as little as it was important to somebody. So everyone has a visual, and our visitors, anybody coming in from the factories, new hires, when we're doing interviews, we take them through this, and it's a lot of fun. You have to have fun.
That's awesome. That is just such a teacher thing. And again, I love the bulletin boards and the visualizations, especially the stickers, putting the stickers on everyone. And it's like, in my previous employer job, I was, giving ideas and things like that. Do the sticker chart. People love to see all their achievements and things like that. And same thing with adults. Even though it's it's a sticker, adults love stickers as well. Let's see. How did you introduce TINYpulse to your employees, and how did you tell them about how to utilize the suggestions piece and what you're expecting from them?
So for us, we have 5 branches. I went branch to branch with their managers, and we had a branch meeting where we talked about it. We used the TINYpulse Code of Conduct to initiate that in there. And then from the beginning, I brought up my admin dashboard so they could see it. They saw exactly what I saw, just to get the anonymity out there from the beginning, so they weren't worried about that. They could see we hadn't had a question yet. I went up there before we had launched, but they could see what it was going to look like for me. And then we just kind of talked about the things that were going to be expected, and kind of maybe some of the questions that were going to be asked, and then the ways that they could utilize this to their advantage. The suggestions, the admin-only suggestions, if it wasn't something that maybe you wanted on the wins board or anyone else to know about, if it was something they personally just needed help with to do their job better, or personally needed help with something. So we just kind of walked through. There's smaller branches, so it was more of almost a one-on-one with them to help them along with it. And then a few weeks after we launched, I went back through each branch and sat down with them if they had any questions with anything, if they needed help putting their profile picture up there to make it, a little more Facebook-like for them, and, kind of ask them how they were liking and doing with that. So that helped out a lot, not just an email of, we're launching this new program, this is how you use it. So that was really beneficial to us.
Awesome. Yeah, very hands-on, teaching them how to do it, following up. Again, very teacher-oriented, and love that. Mary, I love your graveyard concept. Very, very fun. If you can't win a suggestion or a response and you move it to the graveyard, do you also chat about it with folks? Or I know you use Post-its, but what else do you do to talk about, why you can't do something to let people know?
Right. So we answer every suggestion. I am the administrator, the sole administrator. We're 50-some employees. So I answer every suggestion, whether it's implemented, it's under review, or it's just not going to happen, and we explain why. There's no reason not to be transparent in that. So that's pretty much, and we'll talk about them. We do a town hall meeting. So if there's something that we want to bring to the entire company at once, so it's a consistent message that everyone hears at the same time, we'll do that as well if we feel that it's it's fit to do that.
And then do all your wins come from suggestions, or are they things that you've already been working on that you're like, hey, let's put this up?
I think it's a combination. I mean, the suggestions, we don't not post anything. I mean, everything goes out there. There are suggestions that kind of come through the comments. So if it's something that comes through a comment, we'll implement that as well. And there are projects. You know, we have a leadership team, so we talk about Tiny Polls every Monday at our Monday meeting. We review the question of the week. We've been using Tiny Polls since 2016, and it's been a weekly cadence since then. So we discuss it. We also have KPIs that we're measured on monthly. We have the happiness trend, response rates, and our strategic planning team is a team that rotates every year. But that's part of their goals as well, as maintaining those KPIs and coming up with ways to improve it. Because it takes an army, it takes everybody.
Nice, excellent. How do you spark or find wins to work on? Whether they be from suggestions, or do you even kind of pepper it a little bit?
We've done them all. We took a lot from responses. We have the suggestions that come through. We've also thrown some up there from just daily conversations.
Awesome.
Somebody will say something, I'm like, you should go put that in as a suggestion. And we'll put that onto the wins board because, sometimes it's just the simple things that can be done for them. And that's really nice for us also for a branch. They may not see something that's going on in another branch, and they could see that and be like, oh, I never thought about that. That would make life a lot easier for one. Like one of our small wins one of our branches just wanted a picnic table for outside to be able to eat lunch outside when it was nice out. That's not very hard to accomplish, and it made a branch that maybe didn't really like to take lunches, and it made it nicer for them to be able to take lunches, and a very easy win for us to put on the board for them.
That's awesome. Do either of you do anything special to remind employees of past wins? Maybe you have some new employees that come on board, direct them to the wins board, or Mary, you can direct them to, your board, but what do you do? How do you introduce that piece?
Well, I mean, that board's always out. So, through the interview process, we take our candidates through and show them what we're doing. And, we don't keep, we started, it was a suggestion actually not to keep all of them there. It was too confusing, so we moved them off every year. So that's just 1 year's worth. But it's there for everyone to see at all times. So it's very visible.
For us, in our onboarding process for new employees, we have a Tiny Poll section where we go through that, and then we present our culture and take them to the wins board and to explain that and show them the things we had done previously. We also do a slideshow with our Christmas party every year and just kind of put up some of the things there, the top 5 cheer senders and receivers for the year, and then not all of the wins, but would put some of them up there on that slideshow to go through, and that way the husbands and wives and boyfriends and girlfriends can see the things that people had accomplished throughout the year at work also. So that's nice.
Nice. Mary, I have a question specifically for you from Slido. They said they love the physical stars. What happens when you run out of room on their picture frame? Do you just add a separate photo right by it and continue?
Well, we haven't run out of room yet. So we talked about that. Yeah, we'll have to come up with some way to either start putting them on the frame or taking a system where maybe 10 small stars equal 1 larger star and move around that way. But the idea is to never remove them, so it's always there for people to see.
Awesome. And then your Post-it notes, those are on the suggestion board. How often do employees participate on that? Or maybe they don't. And I guess tell us about the Post-it notes.
We actually put those Post-its, or there's some emojis and things on there, just for fun. I mean, there was something there. A suggestion was to have, I think it was beer or wine or something once a week. And, well, we do that at all of our holiday parties, so come to any of our events. We do hangout nights and things. So I'll put a little sticker just to remind folks of what we're already doing, so we don't lose sight of some of that.
Kara, when things come in for suggestion, Are there a particular number of upvotes or thumbs up that you look for before you move something to in progress?
Not usually. If it can be done, it's going to in progress. While we're looking into it, we haven't really had any that we haven't been able to do, or that's not just a for sure, like that either budget-wise can't be done right now, and they usually have a pretty good explanation of why it can't be done right now, and then we comment on the suggestion back to the person, and then whatever segment that person is in, ours are done by branches, so that branch manager will then kind of have a talk with their whole branch and be like, hey, the suggestion came through, and, great suggestion, but right now, we just really can't do that for these reasons, and then that way they get their message on TinyPulse, but then it's addressed to everyone also in a face-to-face manner, so... but we haven't really had too many big ones that we just haven't been able to do.
I heard Mary mention earlier that you talk about this in your hiring process and interviews. Do you talk about TinyPulse in interviews with people before they become a part of your team?
We do. In our interview process, we pretty much present our culture in our interview process and tell them about TinyPulse and that we use that. Because that's a very big and important thing to us. And, if from day one in the interview, if you're not on board with that, that's, already not a culture fit for us.
Nice. What is one takeaway that you have for the audience to get towards, improving your win count? How do you get that momentum going?
So for us, one thing, we had a lot of initiatives going for a little bit, and one bump we ran into was letting some of the smaller ones or ones that took a little more time get a little stale and not checking in as much. So that's one thing that we're doing better on, which is helping us move more suggestions and initiatives to the wins board. Once we had that kind of brought to light to us, it's made us more mindful of those, maybe somebody is feeling that their suggestion isn't as important as somebody else's, or that way, and then adding more people to help on that is helping us out there too, and to get them moved there faster, and that just helps us out a ton too.
Nice. And Mary, piece of advice or Pinterest page we should follow of yours? Or?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight, and it is a process, but don't take your foot off the gas. Just keep at it. You have to just keep doing it over and over, consistent messages, and you need the support of, your leadership team as well as everyone. And so just you have to just keep doing it and have fun. I mean, our controller in a meeting last week said, which really hit home to me, she said, I think we've really learned how to have fun around here. And we have, and we're having a blast. So the more creative you can get, and the support of our president, he goes along with all the craziness. He's like, all right, go ahead, let's go for it. I like it. So just think out of the box.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Just some ideas that I try and give customers when I talk to them is, again, digital trophy case. Celebrate some non-TinyPulse items as well. Celebrate new hires. Celebrate promotions, work anniversaries, or volunteer events and activities like that. So really make it your own. So again, that's that place where your new hires can go in and go, wow, you guys have done a lot. You listen to your employees and you celebrate them. Again, another piece of recognition. So thank you so much, Kara and Mary, for your time. They're awesome. Thank you guys for being such great winners.